Okay, we are reviewing the Millionaire Real Estate Agent 2's version of the models. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with transactions. Okay, everything that is in yellow, by the way, is something that you can edit. Everything that's in black and white, that's where the formulas are. So we don't want to mess with that. Okay, so the spreadsheet is really written for number of transactions rather than income. So if the income is not what you want it to be, we can make the edits based on the number of transactions. The reason why it's done that way is because if we make your plan based on income, it can be skewed by how expensive or how non-expensive the properties you sell, you help buyers buy and sellers sell are. Because what we're really trying to figure out here is the manpower behind, like, what's going to be required in terms of manpower. So like if you're going to do 40 units, you're probably going to have a hard time doing that all by yourself, right? So we want to make the goals with respect to number of units rather than income. So Donna, we're starting to go through something similar to what we did the other day. And then by the end of the call, I'll go over the FHA document. I'm ready to go through that too. Okay.
So, okay, but I have something else that came up that I need to ask you about that I feel like is important.
Okay. Is it real quick?
Well, yeah, that's the reason why I'm late. I was on a call and I have someone that out of state that's looking for I guess it's a commercial property. She's looking for an apartment building. And I'm not sure how to go. She's looking for 100 units.
Yeah, that would be commercial.
And I know Joel Foldham is my my contact for commercial in the office.
Yeah, I'd give him a call and see if he, it would be my opinion that rather than you starting basically completely over in terms of your training, that you probably refer that piece of business away, or you partner with one of the commercial guys. So what I would do is reach out to Joel and just say, you know, who do you believe should be, can you help me with this, or do you have any interest in helping me with this?
Okay. And just out of curiosity, is that something you can search for in FMLS, or? I didn't, when I looked in there before, I didn't see anything that big.
They have a very limited search. That would not be the place you would typically go to search. Some stuff like that is listed, but that's not a good resource to think that you've covered the market.
Okay.
Okay. So Donna, I know that we've done this, the two of us have done this. I actually made a little edit to your page today to make one thing a little bit more clear. So if you're interested, you can pull this document up and we can kind of make sure that your numbers are where you want them to be. Okay. So what we're going to do is first focus on transactions. Okay. We'll come back to the money if the money doesn't feel right. But the first question I'm going to ask is how many people you want to help for the next 12 months. So if we're sitting here 12 months from today and we execute the plan, and by the way, the plan will be created after we see what needs to go into the plan, right? Once we identify what our big rocks are, we'll put them on our calendar, we'll do what we have to do. Now, 12 months from today, we sit back and we say, oh my gosh, this first year of real estate, or this year of real estate was just phenomenal. And everything I wanted to happen happened. I learned and I grew and I built and I created and I helped X number of families buy homes or sell homes. Brian, I'm going to go through yours. If you can be my guinea pig here, I'm going to ask you to say yours out loud. And Brooks, you can. I'm sorry, Brooks. I'm looking at the Brooks name on the title. Andrew, if you want to edit yours according to your personal needs, go ahead and change that number. So, I'm sorry, Brian, what would you say that number is for you?
20.
Okay. Okay. What percentage of your business would you like to come from sellers and what percentage from buyers?
Since I'm new, probably between 30 and 40%. Of sellers, let's say 35, I guess.
So that brings me to another point, which is because you're quote unquote new, hang on just a second. All right, Ebony. Ebony.
Hi.
All right, bring up that email I sent you earlier today. We're going through some detail on that, okay?
Okay.
Okay. It's called MRE or Eccles MREA2. Okay. Because you're quote unquote new and you have you're kind of just starting out with the prospecting and that kind of thing, you are at a bit of an advantage because you get to determine who your prospects are, right? So more than likely, another way to say that is more than likely of the 20 people that you're going to help do transactions this year, you're not going to know all of them, right? There's going to be some strangers, right?
Yep.
There's going to be people that either were introduced to you by people you do know or people that you cold called or met in the open house or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you can, because you know that running a listings-based business is more strategic and more leveraged, I would venture to say that you should be at least 50-50 as a target, because you will get the type of people you prospect for. So if you go out in there and say, hey, I strategically want a 30% listing-based business, and you prospect 70% of the time to buyers and 30% of the time for sellers, that's what you'll get. Being the fact that you get to create that plan today, I would say that's probably not the most strategic way to do it. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to encourage you to be 50-50 at a minimum. So this question is for sellers, so you want to be 50-50, which automatically makes this one 50%, okay? All right, hang on just 2 seconds for me, guys. 2 seconds. It wasn't an email, it's under shared docs.
That's why. Okay, hold on.
It's under shared docs on Google Drive, okay? Ooh, this is fun. I got 3 screens and 3 people that haven't done this before. Okay.
Oh.
All right, got it pulled up? On the left-hand side, there's a little link that says shared with me. That's where you'll see it.
I'm sorry. Bear with me. I'm gonna listen, but I'm looking in it. Hold on.
All right, and I made one edit since we spoke earlier today that makes everything a little bit more simple to digest. All right, we're starting with the economic model. Brian wants to do 20 units, and 50% of those units are going to come from sellers, which means 50 will come from buyers. All right, so Andrew, are you sticking with that number there?
I mean, I'm listening to you, but I mean, my numbers aren't exactly the same.
Yeah, I want you to change yours. Yours is a document specifically for me and you.
Oh, okay.
So change yours so we can talk about it all together.
Okay. Well, I've already changed mine.
Where?
You can't see. Well, I mean, it may look pretty similar to how it originally was, because the way it originally was is pretty close to where I wanted to be.
I'm looking at the live doc right now. Can you see me clicking on your sheet?
Yeah. The 12 transactions, 75% of business. You're saying?
Yeah. So that's where you want to be, right?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. That's what I was asking.
Okay.
Okay. So next thing we want to go over is seller average price. So this is when a seller closes, what is the average sales price that you would expect that seller to be at? Okay. So to give you a rough idea, the average sales price in our market center usually ranges between about $350 and $400. It's not necessarily properties in Roswell. That's just the average sales price that our agents typically close, between $350 and $400. Okay, this last month I think it was around $360. Okay, so think about who you would be in relationship with, who your peers are, who would be your most likely initial clients, and then strategically say, hey, I'm going to go out and, you know, hunt down the people I want to work with specifically. And so I'm going to make an edit. You know, I'm going to base my average sales price on the type of person I'm following. So it looks like all three of us are still at 350, right? So if you want to make an edit to that, then you can change that number in box A32, okay? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to buyers, the average sales price for buyers. Brian, I have you, not you necessarily, but the spreadsheet had 275. So if you think that is about right, keep it. If not, you can make an adjustment. Everyone good?
Yeah.
Okay. Next thing we're gonna do is, all right, Andrew, you're still at 350. Cool. Next thing we're gonna do is talk about commissions. Okay, average sales commission for the seller, which is right here. I have down at 3%. I'm certainly not going to encourage you to take less than 3%. If you want to account for any variations in that, you're more than welcome to. So if you want to go a hair lower in case you have to, you know, shave off a tiny bit every once in a while and go to 2.8 or 2.9 or something like that, you're free to do so. I'll leave it at 3 though. Buyer commission, typically you're going to find it's 3%. Okay, everyone follow me so far?
Yes.
Okay, you guys have very similar businesses then. Okay. Next what we're going to do is we're going to go to some income projections. Okay, is everyone cool with me sharing what I see?
Sure.
Okay. It looks like Andrew's goal over the next 12 months is to make $126,000. Brian's goal is to make $187,500, and Ebony's goal is to make $112,500. If you don't like that number, then we need to change one of two things primarily. One is the number of units you're going to sell, and secondly would be the price range of the homes that you sell. Does anyone not follow me or want to make an edit and doesn't know how? All right, moving right along. Next thing we want to do is talk about conversion rates, okay? There's 3 different types of conversion rates that I have accounted for here. The first is there's going to be a fallout in 3 different places. Number 1 is going to be appointments to listings taken. When I say listings taken, I'm referring to seller listings taken, and we could also call buyer listings taken. You could also use that phrase too. That's a buyer agency agreement, okay? So you're going to go on a certain number of appointments, and you're going to take a percentage of those appointments are going to be listings taken. So we're going to start with sellers. Then there's going to be a percentage of the listings that you take that go under contract. There's going to be some fallout there. And then there's going to be a percentage of homes that go under contract, which percentage of those homes will ultimately close, okay? From industry kind of standard, if you will, I have it down that there's probably 75% for each of those 3 for both buyers and sellers. Does everyone follow that? Does anyone want to make an edit to any of those numbers? You can go ahead and do it.
So if you increase it to 100%, that means 100% of your deals go through. You know, every time you set an appointment, you always get it. You always, you know, and if it's 50%, you lose half of your appointments don't end up closing.
Well, there's 3 different levels to do it at. So let's do one at a time, okay? So Andrew, let's say you stay at 75%.
Okay.
What that's essentially saying is that you're going to go on 21.3 seller listing appointments per year. You're going to take 16 of them. 12 of them are going to go under contract, and 9 of them are going to close. So there's fallout at each one of those levels. If you were to change the conversion rate to 100, that means that you're only going to have to go on 16 listing appointments, because you're going to take all 16, 12 are going to go under contract, and 9 will sell. Follow that? So it depends on where you change the fallout, and that will depend on ultimately how many appointments you have to go on. Does it make sense?
Kind of. I'm
Alright,
seeing the 21.3 listing appointments per year, but it says only 16 listings taken per year.
That's right, because 16 is 75% of 21.3.
Oh.
Then when you take 16, you're going to put 75% under those under contract, which is 12.
Okay.
Then when you put 12 of them under contract, you're going to take 75% of those to the closing table, which is 9. Follow all that?
I'm looking for the 9. Oh, there's a 9 right there. Listing sold. So 75% of the 16 is, wait, no, that's not right.
Because I have
Wait,
it
can you
here.
say all that one more time?
Sure.
Trying to understand it.
21.3 appointments per year. And
Okay.
Brian, for you, it's 23.9, and for Ebony, it's 14.2. Okay. How many appointments do you have to go on each year with sellers, converting it 75% so that you then take 75% of that number, which for Andrew is 16, for Brian is 17.8, and for Ebony is 10.7. Follow that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you want to take more listings, then you either need to go on more appointments or convert at a higher clip. Make sense?
Yes.
Those are the only two ways to change that number. Either convert more or go on more, or both. Okay. Now, if you look over here, the seller conversion ratios and buyer conversion ratios, okay, this is for sellers, percentage of ones that you take. So 17, if you take 17.8, Brian, and you convert 75 of those to under contract, that's what you get. Then 75% of those will ultimately close, and that's where you get. Follow that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everyone see that? So 16 for you, Andrew, 16 you're going to take, 12 you're going to go under contract, 9 are going to sell. Ebony, for
12 will
you,
go into contract, 9 will sell.
10.7. Ebony, 10.7 you'll take, 8 will go under contract, 6 you'll sell. Everyone follow that?
Kind of. I'm just trying to figure out, for me, if I'm doing 12 transactions, at 12 transactions, man, these numbers are just going crazy in my head right now.
Okay, so here's the deal.
Yeah,
You're going to do 12 transactions, but 75% of them are going to be sellers, which is 9. So we just got to figure out how to get you 9 sellers.
I get it. I forgot that was all sellers. Okay. Now I got it.
Then in order for you to, let's go on the buyer side. In order for you to get your 3 buyer closings, you got to go on 7.1 appointments, take 5.3 of them. We can round up, right? And you'll close 3. 4 will go under contract and you'll close 3. If you add the 9 sellers and 3 buyers, you get your 12 deals. Make sense?
Yeah.
Now, if you want to go on more appointments, if you want to go on less appointments, you just need to adjust your ratios based on how successful you are at converting. That's why, by the way, I'm pushing everyone to track their numbers. I'm not doing it because I'm bored and I want to watch you guys do work. I'm doing it because if, for example, we have 3 areas of fallout, that is 3 potential coaching moments, right? So if, for example, Brian, you set 20 appointments and only 10 of them hold, that's an issue. If you hold 10 appointments and only 2 of them you get, that's an issue. That's a whole different issue, and we need to coach on that. If you could put 10 units under contract and only 2 of them close, that's a third issue. Make sense? So when I see how your activities are translating into production, I can see what your biggest weakness is and we can jump on it. Make sense?
Right.
So I would say to keep these at 75% until you have proven yourself to be better or worse than that. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Now, if you go down here, this is under the buyer commission where it says total summary. So that is over here, and that is over here. Okay. This is basically a rundown of your business, a snapshot of your business, okay? Your average commission is $10,500. Seller volume, I'm on you, Andrew, 3.1. Buyer volume, just over 1. Total volume, 4.2 million. Average sales price, 350. Okay. And then your GCI is over here. You're going to gross 126, which is 10.5 a month. It's pretty good stuff, right? All right. Does anyone have any questions on this thus far? Okay, cool. Next thing we're
I
going to
do
do.
not have a full understanding, but I kind of need to study it a little bit longer. Like it'll begin to make sense, but no, as of right now, I don't have a full understanding of it.
I'm going to wrap it up all in a cute bow once I'm done. So it's quite frankly, it's less important that you understand the math behind it and you understand what actually the results of the math are. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is the next tab called Listings Needed, Contacts Needed. I just clicked it on for everyone. Can you see it now? Can everyone see that? At the bottom, instead of economic model, click on Listings Needed / Contacts Needed. See that?
I got it. Yeah, I got it.
I don't see it. Is it on the same page, the Brooks MREA?
Yep. At the very bottom, there's multiple tabs for this document.
Like the very. Oh, the tabs at the bottom. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like scrolling down blank pages of nothing. Okay.
All
Oh,
right.
wait. What did I just? Okay, here I am.
All right. At the very top, where it says under Listings Needed Calculator, is a little snapshot of your business. Okay. GCI for the year is, I'm looking at you, Andrew, 126, 3% average commission, total volume 4.2, average price 350, 12 units. See that?
Yes.
Remember, everything in yellow is what you change. Everything else leave alone, okay? So there's only a few things we're going to change here. Number one is I'm going to encourage you guys to keep this number 39 where it's at right now. 39 right now is the average number of days on the market. Okay, that's across all metro Atlanta areas, all types of housing. Okay. If you tend to sell homes faster or slower than that, you can make a personal edit on your personal page. What we're trying to do here is based on how many seller listings you need to sell. What we're trying to do is determine how many times what's called churn, right? How many times your listing inventory is going to appear and then go away, right? You're going to earn the listing and then it's going to sell. You got to earn the listing back and it's going to sell again, right? A new listing. So how many times does your inventory churn per year? And that's going to tell us how many listings we need at all times. It's kind of like saying, like, let's say I own a bakery. Like how often do I have to order flour, right? What's my inventory and how frequently do I have to order it and what quantities do I have to order it? Does that make sense? Because we're business owners and this is the way we have to think. Okay. Now, next thing. So that's 39.
So is the days on the market from the day that you list it to the day that it closes?
No, day that it goes under contract. Good question.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm getting that data from Chartmasters. Good question. Okay, so what this is telling me is, interestingly enough, all three of you, and these numbers, this is a rounded up number, all three of you need 2 listings at all time. Okay, this is one of the first things I would call one of your big rocks. Okay, let me explain this idea real fast. When you go to the doctor, what they ask you, they take your pulse, they weigh you, they see how tall you are, right? They see what your blood pressure is and these kind of things. They ask you what hurts, right? And they look back at the chart and what they're looking for is any type of discrepancies, right? So let's say I went to the doctor 3 years ago and I weighed 140. And then I went to the doctor 2 years ago and I weighed 140. And then I go to the doctor this year and I weigh 180 and the doctor's like, what the hell's wrong with you, right? But if I weighed 40, he would have never asked that. Or 140, he would have never asked that. So they're looking for trends that show signs of concern. Then he might have said, well, let's do a little blood work, make sure your cholesterol is not that good or not bad. Or let's make sure that, you know, your BMI or whatever, right? So they're taking kind of a stock of your basic health indicators to determine if they need to go into more study and more coaching, if you will. That's what we're doing right now. So what we're trying to do is identify, how do we know whether Andrew's business is on track or he's hitting his numbers, or Ebony, how do we know that you are doing what you need to do every day in order for your business to be on track, okay? Each of you need 2 listings at all times. So this is a reality check. I know you're brand new guys, so no judgment here. But in order for you to hit these goals on a consistent basis, you're going to need 2 active listings at all times. Okay. So you got 2 listings, one goes under contract, get another one. Probably nothing is more important in your entire business than you getting that additional listing. It is not, let me make sure that everything is properly tagged in command. It is go get a listing. Simple. Okay. Next thing. The next thing we're going to do is talk about how many conversations or contacts do we need each day. This is 20 days a week, by the way. So I'm not suggesting or encouraging you to work every single day. I'm being very easy on you. All you got to do is work 2/3 of the year. Okay. 20 days a month, 240 out of 365 days. That's a pretty good gig, isn't it? Okay. Because all of y'all are making 6 figures because I can see your goals. Okay. So Brian, let's stick with you for a second. There's only 2 items here, 70% and 20 and 70% and 50 that we could change. So let me help you understand where that's coming from. First of all, first section is sellers. I have already calculated for you. Heather, by the way, there was a point at one time that I sent you a document called Mueller MREA2. It's a shared Google Drive. I'm just going through that with everyone. Yours is private between me and you can edit it according as we're moving forward through this. If you are unclear or you need to catch up later, you can either watch this video from the start of today or we can meet privately to do it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I've already planned for the fact that 100% of the appointments that you set are not going to hold. Okay. It's just a little bit of fallout so that you can prep for that. Okay. It's maybe they signed with another agent or they forgot and they ghosted you or whatever. So I have 70% of the seller appointments that you set and 70% of the buyer appointments that you set will hold or keep. Okay. Now I use some industry averages for the following numbers. Okay. In all different types of lead generation across the board, when you're calling sellers, specific sellers, right, you can probably expect to have 20 conversations to get 1 appointment. Okay. Now, if you're calling for sale by owners or expired listings, these are people that already have a home and they've already expressed interest in selling it. It's probably not going to take 20 conversations to book an appointment. However, if you're calling circle prospecting and talking to people about selling their property, they have not expressed any interest in selling, and it's going to take a lot more than 20 contacts in order to book an appointment. So 20 is an average, okay? So if you go through and you're contacting sellers and you're realizing that for whatever reason, either the quality of the list isn't good or your scripts aren't good or your closings aren't good or your objection handlers aren't good, and you need to speak to more than 20 to book an appointment, you should make a change to that number, okay? Now, same thing for buyers. However, buyers, the statistics say that you really need to have 50 conversations with prospective buyers in order to book an appointment. So that number is B42, everyone, B42. So with all that said, Andrew, you need to speak to 13 people per day, 20 days a week. Or, I'm sorry, 20 days a month. Brian, you're at 18, and Ebony, you're only at 11. So let me paint you, let me help you understand how cool of a job we have, okay? Brian, if you would like to make, I got a job for you, okay? It costs $110 to keep your job every month. You're gonna make $187,500 gross to do it. All you have to do is talk to 18 people a day, always have 2 listings, and I need you to go on 48 appointments all year. So you can have double the amount of time off that the man gives you, and all you got to do is sit down with 1 ready, willing, and able seller or buyer per week, and you make nearly $200,000. Does this sound like a good gig to you?
Sure does.
Okay. Make sure you're behaving that way. I'm not calling you out, of course, but
Yeah.
this is how cool of a gig we have.
Yep.
Okay. And guess what? Pretty much all of our work is in the freaking air conditioning. We don't even have to like dig ditches or anything. Guys, we got it made. All right. Ebony, I know you already heard that joke today. Just smile at me, okay? All right. Next. Lead generation model. Okay. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I want to give you a little bit of an idea of kind of what all this means. Okay. So go down to the next tab, everyone, at the very bottom. If you have not already done this, what I want you to do is focus a significant amount of your time developing or fine-tuning your database. Okay. There are agent pivot scripts in the Google Drive, and I want you to study those backward and forward so that you know what to say to people. Do not lead with sales, lead with service, lead with love, lead with care, empathy. Okay. We have an agent whose grandfather just passed away last night of COVID. Okay. We had an agent in our office that, thank God, has recovered, was in the hospital for like 2 months. Okay. It's getting close to people. Okay. People have lost their jobs. They've lost their, income. They've been furloughed, right? People are hurting and they're scared as hell. Okay. So we need to love on these people. The people that hear from us today will listen to us later. Make sense? If you ask them enough questions about their life and their world and their business and their family, they will ask you about yours. And then you can tell them that you are launching a real estate business, and they will know that because you're a person of integrity and you're a hard worker and you take things seriously, that when you tackle this new initiative, it's not going to be any different. And they're going to gladly want to support you. Okay. So lead with service, get to sales if you earn the right to get to sales. Okay. Make sense? All right. Millionaire real estate agent 2, the new research says for every 100 people in your database that they call METs, you should have 10% or 10 closings. Okay. Roughly half of those will come from people in your database. Roughly half of those will come from referrals from people in your database. So the first topic is, it begs the topic that you need to have a database, right? And it needs to be organized and tidied up. So Heather spent a significant amount of time doing that. And now she has a better idea of how many people she has a relationship with. And now one of her chief tasks is to go through that list, love on them all, and deepen every single one of those relationships, right?
Yep.
Okay, so if we go through these numbers just really briefly, because you want to do, Andrew, 12 units, you really need 120 people in your database. Brian, you want to do 20 units, so you need 200 in your database. And Ebony, you need 120 because you want to do 12 units. So METs, by the way, are people that know who you are. Here's a good way to determine if somebody is a MET or not. Okay, let's say I call Brian. I say, hey, Brian, this is Bill Linkwald from Keller Williams. And Brian's like, oh, hey, Bill, how's your wife? That's a MET. If Brian says, who? That's not a MET. Make sense? Now, just because you don't have full contact information from somebody does not mean they're not a MET. It just means you need to love on them and ask for what you're missing, okay? So what we're gonna do next is identify, remember what's in yellow can be edited, the current number in your database, okay? So who wants to be an example for this? Brian, can we use you real fast?
Yeah, sure. I have zero.
Give me a rough number. I'm not looking for exact. Just give me a rough number of the number of people in your database right now.
Say 40.
Okay, so I'm going to change the number that is an F17. Okay.
Okay.
Now, because you need 200 and you have 40, you need to hustle and get yourself 160 people into your database. Now, some of them, I suspect you know more than 40 people. So you just have
Yeah.
to spend some time cleaning it up and getting it organized.
Yep.
So because you have 160 people, you need to get into that system ASAP so that you can expect to have those 20 units coming from Mets, so you don't have to go out and deal with a bunch of strangers. You got to get
Yeah.
160 people in your database ASAP. Did somebody say something?
Yeah, I got the sheet from Sam directly to the command friendly spreadsheet to upload stuff into command directly from email addresses and everything, because I had all of mine in my Yahoo, because I have my stuff in my phone saved directly to Yahoo, so I never lost my contacts if iCloud like zonked out. So that was not actually an easy thing to get because it kept like glitching on the system. So if anybody needs that spreadsheet, I'm happy to share it.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Will you post that in the help group?
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank
So I'm just gonna throw out a number, Brian, that's gonna cause you to maybe flinch a little bit, but you look like the kind of guy that can handle a big goal. Okay. So I'm gonna give you 8 weeks to get this number up. Okay. So over the course of the next 8 weeks, right, number of weeks to add, I'm gonna give you 8 weeks. So that means between now and the next 8 weeks, you need to add 20 people to your database every week. Okay. That leaves, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention one thing. I also want you to set a goal of how big you're gonna grow your database every year. Okay. I'm not sure if this is your goal, but if it's not, I'm going to let you borrow my goal for you, which is I believe that it's that adding does anyone believe that adding 2 people to your database per day is crazy talk?
No.
Is everyone up for that challenge? Beautiful. Then we're going to add 500 people to your database every single year. Okay. So Brian, today you have 40 people. When we have this conversation next year this time, you're going to have 540 people. They're all going to know who you are. They could all point you out at the Starbucks when you went in there, or when they went in and saw you there, right? And then if you communicate with them properly over time, you should be able to spit out 54 units starting next year. How's that feel?
Feels good.
Great.
Feels doable.
Now, so you got to add 20 people per week to your database over the course of the next 8 weeks. Then once that's done, you'll need 340 more to add for the rest of the 10 months. The 10 is in yellow, right? So then you can back off and you only have to add 9 a week, which is less than 10, which is the 2 per day. Again, you don't have to work every single day. You're never going to hear that from me. Okay, this is about a life worth living. Okay. Now, let's go to the big rocks. Can everyone see the big rocks? I'm going to click on all 3 tabs. Okay, this is essentially your report card right in front of you. Okay, Brian, you will have a healthy business if you do the following at all times. If you want to know how healthy your business is, this is what your goals need to be, okay, in order for you to hit the goals that you've established here. So, Andrew, you need 1 listing at all times. Okay, Brian 2, Ebony 2. Okay, in order to hit your financial goals and set the number, go on the appropriate number of appointments and everything, Andrew, you need 13, Brian 18, Ebony 11. See that? Per day, 5 days a week, or 20 days a month. Make sense? So when I ask you what your goal is for the week and you have to put it on the tracking page, every single time that I ask you to do that, the goal really should be, Brian, 18 times 5. What is that? 90 people, right? And the only reason that should change is if you get more ambitious or you fall behind. So if your goal is 90 this week and you turn in a number of 50, the next week your goal should be 130 to get back on track. Follow?
Yep.
Okay. Next, how many people do you have to add per day to your database? Now, this does not include the ramp up period. Okay. This is just to add 500 over the course of 250 days. So that's almost always going to say 2. Okay. Over here, where it has these yellow boxes, this on the right-hand side, this is a tool that Keller Williams talks about called the 4 conversations. And what I was realizing is it's a little confusing if you have a real new business or a business that has an uneven percentage of your business coming from buyers. So I want to explain both sides of it. So the first 2 columns are sellers only. The second 2 columns are sellers and buyers. Okay. If you properly market, if you go on enough seller listings, appointments, you'll take the listings. When you properly market that, you'll have more than enough buyers. Okay. Meaning most of your lead gen activities should really be focused on sellers, and you'll end up with buyers just because you're busy. Okay. Does everyone follow that? So the top is not rounded up. Okay, which means that, Andrew, you need to go on 21.3 seller listing appointments per year. However, there are some buyer appointments that are not accounted for here. So we're only going to talk about sellers for a second on the left hand, these left 2 blocks. So Andrew, 21.3, you're going to take 16 of them. Okay, the 2 on the right are how many units you're going to close. That's buyers and sellers. You're going to sit at the closing table once a month, and you're going to gross 126. Does everyone follow that? Then we're going to divide all of that by 12 and round up. So now, Andrew, you really need 2 listing appointments per month. Again, these are rounded up, so it can be a little funky to look at, but you need to go on 2 listing appointments per month. You'll take 2. I don't know why this is a dollar sign. I've been trying to fix this all day. If you know how to fix it, but it's not the normal just get rid of the dollar thing. I've already tried that. Okay. And then you'll make $10,500 per month. Brian, 15,625. Ebony, you're just a hair shy of 10 grand a month. Okay. Now, let's go over to the left column here. This one right here in column B. Start with you, Andrew. Again, these are the big rocks of your business. This is how to identify if you're on track every single day or every single month. Okay. You need 1 listing at all times. You need to contact 13 people, 20 days a week. 2 people to your database you should add each day. Okay. You need to go on a total of 29 appointments. According to this, just over 21 of them would be sellers, the rest buyers. So 29 total appointments, 22 times you're going to take that piece of business, right? You're going to get a buyer brokerage agreement signed or a listing agreement signed. You're going to go on 3 appointments total per month, taking 2 of those pieces of business. Okay. Does everyone see how I read that off? Brian, you're 2, 18, 2, 48 appointments, taking 36 of them. That's 4 a month, 3 that you go that you take. That's buyer brokerage agreement or a listing agreement. And Ebony, you only got to go on 35 appointments. You're going to take 22 of them. You're going to get, which it calculates to 3 per month, and taking 2 of them. Okay, because they're rounded up, if you hit these numbers, you'll actually beat your goals. So every day that you go into the office, you should be staring at this form that basically says, Brian, the bill tells me and the models tell me I have to have 4 appointments a month. Have I had 4 yet? Right? So if 1 week goes by, and this would go in your GPS and then your 4-on-1, which we'll get to, but if we're sitting here 3 weeks into the month and you have only gone on 1 appointment, you're behind. So the question is when you're behind in your goals, you basically have one of 2 choices. Either you can change the goal or you can change your activities. And I'm going to request that you all change your activities. Okay. Everyone clear on all that? Okay. So now you have earned the right to delete this little tab on the front that says delete this when you are done. This was a little test to see if you even opened this thing, and you all have passed the test, so congratulations. Okay, so now you know what it's going to take to be successful. So now what we have to do, and there is a video in the Google Drive that says, it's called GPS or 135. There's actually multiple videos that talk about the next steps. So how to build a business plan based on what you now have. Because ultimately what you've got to do is you got to make sure there's enough time in the day to do all the things that you now know you have to do. Okay, I did promise that I would go over the FHA loan exhibit. So I'm going to share my screen really fast and go through this document with you real fast. Was that helpful for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it'll sink in. Like it's not connecting yet, but I'm sure it will. So
Again, the main takeaway is not, okay, well, how did he write that Excel formula? The main takeaway is, do I have enough listings right now? And have I talked to enough people today? Right? Okay. Do not forget, we have lots of videos on the Roswell page that Susan has recorded to show you how to walk you through some of these documents, okay? On the purchase and sale, there is the second to last page, there's a list of addendum that could be included in the sales contract, and FHA loan exhibit or contingency exhibit is one of those documents. So whatever you label it at the purchase and sale, you need to label it the same here. So it could be A or B or C or whatever, okay? You're gonna put in the offer date and the property address at the top, okay? More often than not, they're gonna get a first mortgage only, okay? The loan amount for FHA, obviously you need to ask what the borrower was trying to accomplish here, but FHA allows you to do a minimum down payment of 3.5%. So the vast majority of the time that a buyer is going to do an FHA loan, this is going to read 96.5%. Okay. That's because 3.5% is what they're borrowing. I'm sorry, my bad. 3.5% is what they're bringing. That's their down payment. 96.5% is what they're borrowing. Okay. More often than not, it's a 30-year lease. And here, what I tend to do here, this is not necessarily the interest rate that they're getting. This is a contingency. So if I'm on the seller side, I want that to read market. If I'm on the buyer side, I want it to be a little higher than what their current rate is. So let's say the current rate is 3.75. I might have that read 4, okay? Because now if in 3 weeks the market jumps up and now the rate is 4.25, and that causes my buyer not to be able to afford this home anymore, then they can get out of the contingency or using this contingency. I do not want that buyer to have that ability if I'm on the seller side, because I'm on the seller side and I'm trying to protect my seller, right? So I want that to read market. I don't care if the rate's 25, you're buying this home, or I'm keeping your earnest money. Does it make sense? Okay. Generally, it's a fixed rate, institutional lender. Check both of those. I've never seen a second mortgage on an FHA loan. Here, you can read through exactly how this is phrased, but I tend to leave this blank. This basically says that if you put a lender here, then you have to get a denial letter from this lender. If you leave it blank, you can get a denial letter from any lender. Okay, so I would generally leave this blank. That allows your buyer to shop the loan if necessary. Okay, financing contingency, I usually put between 21 and 25 days in there, 21 to 25 days. The biggest takeaway here, though, is that you need to have a conversation with the lender to make sure that that is reasonable, particularly if you have not worked with that lender before, okay? Particularly if you have not worked with that lender before. Here's the deal with financing. The contracts can go binding. You're going to send off the contract to the lender, and they're going to do what's called underwriting. So they're going to put all the financials together. So you're reminding your buyer to be cooperative, and if the lender needs a document, get them the document. No wasting times. Get them the document. Okay. You're basically asking somebody to foot a bill for 96.5% of what you're agreeing to pay for a property, and they're going to have some questions. So if you think you're taking a risk, you're only taking 3.5% of a risk. They're taking 96.5% of the risk. So if they want a blood sample, you better run over there and give them a blood sample. okay? Because quite frankly, you ain't got the money to buy this home. So you need to be friendly to the person who does. Does that make sense? Right?
Yes.
They make the rules. The man with the gold makes the rules. Isn't that what they say? So be friendly to the lender, okay? Now, the file is going to get underwritten. And when they underwrite the file, they're going to check the guy's tax records, his income, his credit score, his debt, his child support, all this stuff to determine, is this guy going to pay this back, right? Do we want to issue this loan? If they reject the loan, they really need to reject the loan within this number of days. Because if they reject the loan, then the buyer can say, hey, I couldn't qualify for the mortgage, and they can get their earnest money back, okay? If these 21 days expire, then they get a rejection for the loan, they're most likely going to lose their earnest money. And the paperwork basically says that they cannot self-sabotage their file, meaning, like, let's say the guy changes his mind and doesn't want to buy the home anymore, and therefore he goes out and leases a BMW for $600 a month so he doesn't qualify anymore. That doesn't work. He'll get busted on that, okay? Now, it also says that the buyer is, behaving in a is communicating in a reasonable, if the buyer just totally ghosts everyone that's asking for support, paperwork, that's not going to be a valid reason for losing earnest money or not being able to afford the loan. Okay. Here, number 12, FHA requires something called an upfront mortgage insurance product. I'm going to have to make this quick. That's 1.75%. 1.75%. It is typically added to the loan amount, meaning not paid up front. Okay, so typically it's 12B. Okay, number 14 says tax service. I don't know why they have this on here, but tax service fees is just one of the itemized parts of a closing cost. And I usually check that they are allowed. One sec, Deb. Okay. I'm going to finish this tomorrow morning if that's cool with you guys, okay? I've got a coaching call right now. You there?
Yes. Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
It's actually to Andrew. Andrew, really quickly, you said something about digital business cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, you guys, thank you. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, no.
I'll leave it open.
Yeah.
Okay.
Leave it open for a second.
Okay.
Yeah. So, the digital business cards. Yeah. Are you trying to make one?
Let me put you
Yes.
Okay. You just go to command.
on. Yes.
Hold on, let me close this a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You just go to command.
Second. Can you hear me okay?
And then from there is that
What's that?
tab thing on the left.
Hey, Andrew,
Hey,
can you share your screen?
I guess
He has
so.
to give permission.
Hang on just one second. I'm trying to mute myself.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me figure this out. I don't have a lot of time because I'm about to go get my hair cut, but yeah,
Ooh, that's-
I'll do it real quick. I've never done this before. Let me see if this works. Share screen. Oh wait, I can't.
He has to give you permission. It's not going to work.
Okay,
Yeah, plus he's sharing his screen
He's-
right
Yeah.
now.
that's
So if
right.
you could tell me the steps.
Honestly, it's really easy. You just go to command home, and then go over to let's see. Okay, down at the bottom. Okay.
Designs?
Let me make sure. I think it's designs. Yeah. Designs, and then it says my design templates at the top. Hang on, my page is loading. And then somewhere in there you find business cards. But my computer's going slow.
But if I get into that, I should be able kind of to like
Yeah.
walk myself through it.
Oh, okay. Now it's at the top. So where was it? Pretty sure it was like designs, and then I mean, do you guys see something on there about business? Oh wait, hang on. You go over to the top, to the right. There's a little blue plus sign button. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where I went. The print or something. I can't remember. I looked up a video on on YouTube. No, you know what? I'm gonna find it for you. It was in the PC community thing. It was
Oh,
somewhere.
there we go.
Yeah.
Business basics, and then business cards.
Hold on, say that again.
Sorry. Hit the plus, and then hit print. And I gotta remember how I did it.
Okay.
Hang on 1 second here. Okay. No, get out of there.
Yeah, I think you do go to print.
Plus print, hit next,
Mm-hmm.
and then business
Oh,
page
yeah.
left side there, and then business cards
The
and
business
letterheads.
card.
There
And
you
then
go.
I chose, there's like portrait, which is like up and down, and then like the regular business cards. I chose the one on the business card side that's like mostly gray. I chose that one.
Yeah, that's the one I like too.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh my
y'all
gosh.
take it easy.
Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Okay.
See y'all later.
Okay.
Take
bye.
care. Bye bye.
I'm lost. Okay, I give up.